And now the Democrats increase their calls for mass violence and an insurrection against Trump. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, it's inevitable. We knew it's been building now for weeks and weeks and weeks. The more successful Trump is as president, the more he keeps notching up win after win after win. And as the Democrats get more desperate in their antics, Exhibit A being their pathetic, pitiful performance, frankly embarrassing, at the State of the Union address, and nothing seems to be working. Trump's approval numbers keep going up. Trump now seems unstoppable politically, at least in the short term. And now Democrat anger, Democrat frustration, Democrat resentment is starting now to burst into the open. They have now, some of them, on the radical hard left, the so-called progressive wing of the Democratic Party, they are now calling for violence. They want to take this to the streets. They say, before Trump cements, I swear to you, I swear these people are nuts, a dictatorship. And it's now media that is starting to lead the chorus. I want you to listen now to Sunny Hostin on The View. She's one of the liberal idiots on that show who is standing in solidarity with Congressman Al Green for having interrupted Trump's speech, for having yelled at Trump, spoken over Trump. And her question is, why don't more Democrats, in fact, why didn't every Democrat stand with Big Al as he was ejected from Congress? Because according to her, I'm going to play the cut. You got to hear it to believe it. Donald Trump poses a quote-unquote existential threat to America. And now Democrats must be willing, her words, to fight and die to stop Trump. Roll cut 18A, Mike.
Baby boomers, the civil rights generation, they knew what they had to do. They were willing to fight and die for their rights. This generation of Congress, they are not meeting the moment. This is an existential crisis.
Let me tell you something right now. I'm telling you, look, people are going to get killed with this kind of rhetoric. I'm telling you this right now. And they're setting up a possible assassination attempt against Trump. And almost on cue, as she was going on, and echoed by many others, this is just, it's not just Sunny Hostin. This constant, he's an existential threat. He's establishing a dictatorship. And now, Democrats must be willing to, quote-unquote, fight and die to stop Trump, to stop this so-called existential threat from destroying our country, our Constitution, our democracy, our Bill of Rights. She's inciting mass violence. There's no other way. This idiot is inciting mass violence, urging, you got to go fight and die. She's inciting an all-out insurrection, and she's inciting riots. Now, almost on cue, on Saturday night, early Sunday morning, a man with a gun driving from Indiana to Washington, D.C. Apparently, local police got a tip that this man was suicidal, homicidal, very dangerous, and that he potentially posed a threat to President Trump and to himself. That they feared he was heading to the White House to try to assassinate the president. The Secret Service was tipped off, thank the Lord. They managed to spot his car 1 block away from the White House. They got his license plates. They did an all-out search. They found him near the White House. As they approached him, he pulled out his gun, and then a firefight erupted. That man has been shot and taken to the hospital. But what is very clear is that he was on some kind of a suicide mission to try to assassinate the president. Now, luckily, Trump is fine. He was in Mar-a-Lago, in fact, during the whole weekend. But the fact of the matter is, what is starting to happen over and over again is you are seeing not just growing threats against Trump's life, not just growing attempts to kill Trump's life, but the left now embracing a nihilism, a hatred of Trump that is so extreme, so vile, that is so beyond the pale, that now they are literally calling for violence on the streets, to die, kill, overthrow this government by any and all means necessary. Now, let me just say this, okay? And then I want to open it up to the phone lines and take calls on the other side of the break if the lines are jammed. 617-266-6868 is the number. No one supports freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of expression more than the Kuhner man. You know that. I know that. I live and die by the First Amendment. However, that being said, it is against the law to call for the murder of President Trump. It is against the law to nakedly incite violence. That's what that idiot Sonny Hostin did. Where is the Secret Service? Why aren't they knocking on her door? She should be arrested. And let me tell you something else. ABC News needs to fire her ass. I understand it's The View. I understand it's a clown show. I understand it's Whoopi Goldberg, who doesn't know what the Holocaust is. And it's Joy Behar, who you honestly wonder if this woman has a brain between her ears. And it's the screamer, Anna Navarro, who just shouts and yells and shouts and yells and thinks if you can shout over someone and yell and scream that somehow you've won the debate. I understand. But even by the standards of The View, even by their low standards, you can't go on the air and start calling for Democrats to die and violently overthrow the government. You can't call for Democrats to go live on the air to engage in political violence in order to take down the Trump administration. In other words, once you start calling for people to be killed, once you start calling for blood to flow in the streets, once you start calling for people to literally sacrifice themselves in order to rise up and overthrow a government and a president, that's no longer free speech. That's incitement. That's incitement. At a bare minimum, she needs to be canned. Now, I can just tell you this. If I went on the air and said Republicans need to fight and die and overthrow the Biden regime in a violent insurrection, I'm gone. I'm so gone. It's not even funny. I wouldn't even finish the show. So if you're going to threaten the president and you're going to call for people to die and you're going to call for Trump and Trump supporters to die and for Democrats now to basically take this to the streets, how does this woman still have a job Monday morning? That's what I want to know. Now, it's also now in Congress. They can't help themselves. They're going down a very dark, dangerous road. I want you to listen now to Al Green. Remember him? He was censured. Then they shut down Congress because Democrats stormed the well on the House floor in solidarity with him, not allowing him to be censured, as he obviously interrupted and disrupted Trump's speech. In fact, menacingly was waving his cane at Trump. Okay? Al Green went on some kind of Democracy Now! Show. Now he says we are this close to Trump becoming a dictator, and he must be stopped. He must be impeached. And if impeachment doesn't work, and he just leaves it out there. Roll cut 18, Mike.
The point that we have to make is impeachment is a remedy for a runaway president who believes that there are no guardrails, who believes that the Supreme Court has placed him above the law, and who is now very close to a point where he will not honor court orders. When he does that, Ms. Goodman, he at that point will become a dictator. We are this close. When he goes over that line, that second, that scintilla of a second, he will become a dictator, and we will be under a dictatorship. I refuse to wait until that happens before I act. So I will act in defense of the Constitution and for the people of this country.
My friends, they're pushing an insurrection. I mean, basically, if they can't impeach him because they don't have the votes, you're staring down the barrel of a gun of a dictatorship. This kind of incendiary, hysterical, inflammatory rhetoric is beyond dangerous. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, there are now growing calls for open calls, naked calls, explicit calls for violence. There's just no other way to put it. An insurrection, riots, whatever you want to call. Sonny Hostin on The View, how this woman keeps her job is now beyond me. On Friday's show, said Al Green should have been followed by every single Democrat. They should have all heckled Trump, spoken over him, and they should have all been ejected or kicked out of Congress together during Trump's joint address to Congress. She then said that Democrats now must be willing to, quote unquote, fight and die to stop Trump because he's on the verge of becoming a dictator. They are now openly calling for blood to flow on the streets, for mass violence, and for an out-and-out insurrection against Trump and his administration. I played the cut of Al Green. He was on Democracy Now!, which is a very, very far-left show, saying Trump is now an iota away from becoming a full-blown dictator. Impeachment may not be enough to stop him. Now, these are clear. There's not a dog whistle. These are bullhorns. Clear calls now for Trump to be murdered, for Trump supporters to be attacked, and for riots and violence to break out. One of the listeners to this show, and I want to keep his name anonymous because I want to protect his identity, especially from nasty liberals who may want to try to harass or continue to persecute him. But he told me a very disturbing story. This is what he wrote to me on Messenger. Jeff, I was approached this weekend by an anti-Trump nut. I guess he saw a sticker or a shirt or whatever identifying this person and his wife as Trump supporters. He got in my face, called my wife a derogatory term. In self-defense, I had no choice but to stop him. Jeff put it this way. He messed with the wrong Marine, and he found out the hard way. I'm not a tough guy, but enough is enough. Now, he says he's fine. His wife is fine. The other guy, maybe not so much. But his point is now he was attacked. Or to be more specific, his wife was attacked. And I'm getting more and more emails, honestly, more and more text messages, more and more people on Messenger saying, Jeff, there is now a climate of hatred against Trump supporters that is brewing in some liberal precincts, that if this thing is not contained or controlled, it's going to get out of control. It's starting now to get to that point. And as I said, we had one armed man attempt an assassination on Trump over the weekend. Luckily, Trump was not at the White House. Obviously, the threat was neutralized. There was a shootout that took place 1 block away from the White House. But my point is, you keep saying there's a dictatorship. You keep saying blood needs to flow in the streets. You keep saying Democrats must be willing to fight and die, that there needs to be an insurrection, riots, use any and all means to stop Trump. You're going to start inciting more and more of this. And that's why the FBI needs to get involved. The Secret Service needs to get involved. And they need to start making examples of these people. And look, my fear here, I was talking to Grace last night. She says, Jeff, I fear for Trump's life. She says, honestly, I hope this guy makes it to the end of his presidency. Because the hatred that is now being whipped up, the incitement, she goes, it's even worse than in his first term. So let me ask all of you, should Sunny Hostin be forced to resign? Should she have to go to jail for threatening to murder the President of the United States? And honestly, when is now enough? How much more can these liberals and Democrats say or do before they maybe, God forbid, unleash chaos, havoc, and violence? 617-266-6868. Lines are jammed. John in Malden. You're going to kick us off, John. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Yeah, morning, Jeff.
Hi, John.
The big screen said behind Markey, don't agonize, organize. When he was spoken on Saturday at Malden. The thing is, he brought the point about Medicare, Medicaid, and also the Social Security. He wants to take away all that and put it towards the war, towards the military, should I say. Talked about that. Talked about the environment.
John, can you just hang on? I'm up against the break. Did he show up in his ice cream truck? I'm just curious, John. Did he show up in his ice cream truck, and could he even find his way to the meeting? Because, he never comes to Malden. He's never here. So, did he need GPS? So we're going to continue with John and your calls next. 6:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Okay, I want to go right back to John in Malden. John, just before I do, though, I got a message back from that Marine friend of mine who was verbally and then physically assaulted. He and his wife. He defended himself. He defended his wife, but they were assaulted by this, as he put it, an anti-Trump nut. Apparently what set this person off was that this Marine, big fan of the show, big listener of the show, had a Trump hat on. That's how we identified him as a Trump supporter. And so apparently he started yelling at this person's wife, some of the most disgusting obscenities, and then tensions escalated, and then his wife and he were assaulted. He defended his wife, and apparently he says he's fine, his wife is fine, the other guy, the never Trump nut, not so much. But the point is that the rhetoric now is so incendiary, it is so inflammatory, the hysteria, the ridiculous allegations now that are spewing from the media, the constant lies and propaganda and mis and disinformation is now clearly driving people to commit individual acts of violence, as the media, people like Sunny Hostin, Democrats, some, are openly calling for violence and an insurrection. So, my question to you, are you starting to worry about your safety, being a Trump supporter? have you encountered over the last, say, month or 6 weeks, violence or hostility on the streets? Whether you're in a parking lot, whether you're at a, grocery shopping, whether you're at work, whatever it may be, from someone because they realize you're a Trump supporter? And do you fear for the president's life? There was someone attempted to kill him. There was an armed confrontation about a block outside the White House. Luckily, Trump wasn't even there. He was in Mar-a-Lago. But still now, there are growing attempts to kill the president. They tried to kill him twice during the campaign, and now they're ratcheting up now the fear and the hatred even more. 617-266-6868. Let's go right back to John in Malden. He said, Ed Markey, Ice Cream Ed, the ice cream man. Markula, I want to suck your blood. I want to take your money. So he showed up in Malden. Can't believe he found the place. He was in Malden for a meeting. You should call the Vatican there, John, because Ice Cream Ed, boy, he never comes back to Malden. And I can't believe he found the place, but he did. I guess GPS helped. So we talked about Trump wanting to cut Medicare. Trump's going to cut Medicaid. Trump's going to cut Social Security. Trump's going to cut, all these anti-poverty programs and give it all to the military. Please pick up where you left off, John.
Well, he was pushing that, plus the environment of the green, the green environment, whatever, and Green New Deal, should I say? Thank you very much for that, Jeff. And he was pushing it, and the people cheering and clapping and everything else. And to me, when I was sitting there, I took some video of it too, of what he was saying. But I'm going to tell you right now, it felt like I was in a cult. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm telling you, it's scary, and it's unbelievable. But that big sign on the screen behind him said, "Don't agonize, organize." And another thing too is Trump's people, if they're listening, they're going to go have lawyers and go after everything that he tries to sign or do or whatever. So be prepared for that.
There's no question, John. They're using lawfare. They're using these activist judges to block Trump at every turn. No, let me tell you what I find disgusting, John, is the sheer demagoguery, the fear-mongering, the panic porn. So he's not cutting Medicare. That's a lie. He's not cutting Medicaid. That's a lie. He's not cutting Social Security. If anything, he wants to get rid of taxes on Social Security benefits. All right, but, let that go. He's not going to cut any of these so-called poverty programs. That's a lie. What he's going after is waste, fraud, and abuse. In particular, if you're not entitled to Medicare, say you're an illegal alien, then you shouldn't get Medicare. If you're an illegal alien and you're getting Medicaid, you're not entitled to Medicaid, you shouldn't get it. Now, why is this so important? Because this is bankrupting the system. If we keep giving, they keep saying Social Security is running out of money. Maybe if you stop sending all those checks to people over 100 years old, maybe there'd be more money in Social Security. So what Trump and Elon are saying is, of course, if you're an American citizen, you've paid into the system, you're going to get everything you deserve and you're entitled to. But if you're not, if you're an illegal, if you have no right to Medicare, no right to Medicaid, no right to Social Security, we're gonna stop you from stealing from the system, abusing and committing a fraud upon the system. Now, and another thing is firing government bureaucrats who sit around and do nothing. Many of them, as Trump has been saying, they don't even want to come back to work. Most Americans, COVID's been over now for, 4 years? So most people in the private sector have to go back to the office. These guys are still working from home with little to no supervision or oversight. So Trump is saying, look, if the rest of the country has to go back to work in the office, why should you federal bureaucrats suddenly be exempt? Go back to the office. And if you don't want to go back to the office, you're fired. Now, that's not cutting Medicare. That's not cutting Medicaid. That's not cutting Social Security. That's cutting lazy bums, parasites, loafers, leeches, whatever you want to call them. So, it's another thing. They keep saying, oh, well, he just laid off more people. Yeah, good. Good. He's streamlining the massive bureaucracy. So people who do want to work and contribute, they can stay. Those that don't, they have to go. Am I wrong, John?
No, Jeff, you're right on that. It's ridiculous. It's all bent out of shape on a lot of things. People, they're still wearing masks and they're in the car alone. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's ridiculous. Everybody else is not wearing a mask, and these people are wearing masks still. They're afraid. That's how warped their mind is. And you know what? That day on Saturday, boy, it was scary being in there because everybody was cheering and everything else. But you were right on. This one thing you were right on was, if anything, you would want to add money to Social Security and everything else. All these fake deaths and everything else, and people still collecting money. Who knows who? It's ridiculous. It's a waste of money. Waste of government.
Oh, I agree. No, it's a grotesque waste of our money. And it's more than that. It's theft. They're stealing our money. They're sending the checks and these benefits to people who shouldn't get them, don't deserve them, and haven't earned them. You would think Democrats would applaud that. And look, you said the magic word, cult. The Democratic Party has become a cult. That's what this is. They behave like a cult. They're insane like a cult. And my fear is they're going to start to become violent like a cult. And they're already calling for violence. Some of them, I mentioned Sonny Hostin, like they're in a cult. That, to me, is what's the scary part. As always, thank you for that call, John. Finch in Oregon. Thanks for holding, Finch, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Nice
Hi,
to talk
Finch.
to you again. Yeah, you're completely spot on with the impeachment. I fear even more now that it's not even talked about, where the assassination attempt, that was big news, and it's just by the wayside. It's just gone. So I'm completely in fear, not just rogue people, just overall impeachment is in the works. I know that it is. And I don't know where they're going to stop.
Well, that's the thing. Once you start calling someone a dictator, people start to believe it. Then what's your remedy? Yes, they're going to want to impeach, but as you're starting to hear more and more, they want to take it to the streets. And that, my friends, is political violence, insurrection. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, quick reset. I want to go right back to the phone lines. A couple lines are open if you want to jump on. 617-266-6868. Sonny Hostin, but there are now others, is now openly calling, at least on Friday's show, for mass violence on the streets, saying dictatorship is nigh. The country now can no longer take Donald Trump's presidency. He now is about to make himself a military strongman above the Constitution, above the Bill of Rights, above the Supreme Court. And so to stop what they're now calling an existential threat to the country, they now say, according to Sonny Hostin and others, that Democrats must be willing to, quote unquote, fight and die to stop Donald J. Trump from becoming a dictator. My question to you, should Sonny Hostin be forced to resign? Should the Secret Service pay her a visit? And with more in the media, more liberals now, Marxists, socialists, progressives, with more of them calling for violence against Trump and for an insurrection on the streets, or do you fear now that the left may decide to adopt all-out violence to stop Trump? They went after Trump over January 6th, but are they the real insurrectionists? That's now the question. And do you feel increasingly threatened or menaced if liberals notice that you're a Trump supporter? Have you experienced what one of our listeners did over the weekend, where he was wearing a Trump hat and an anti-Trumper, a rabid anti-Trumper, started swearing at his wife, swearing at him, assaulted his wife, assaulted him. He had to defend himself, saying, Jeff, it's starting to get ugly out there. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go to Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
I'm going to take you off my Bluetooth thing here so I can hear you better. Hey, I think it's pretty dang funny, Jeff.
Love him for that.
Serious, but, did I really hear him say that when Donald Trump ignores a court, that's when he becomes a dictator?
That's right.
I mean, I'm a little confused. Didn't the last guy ignore the Supreme Court a whole bunch of times?
And he ignored lower courts. He ignored the Supreme Court again and again and again. But you see, when they ignore courts, that's okay, Mark. Trump, I don't think, has ignored any court. He's appealed. He said, no, we're going to take this higher. But in fact, he hasn't ignored one court ruling. But now, all of a sudden, Mark, it's Weimar, and we're hanging by a thread.
Jeff, we're all a bunch of Nazis, Jeff. I mean, come on, I would say this to people like Sonny Hostin. Are you really ready to go toe-to-toe with people? I got a funny feeling that, I'm 6'3", 220. I have no problem with really anybody. But the minute there becomes a threat to my family or to my neighborhood or to my way.
Hello, Mark. I think we lost Mark. But yeah, so basically, Mark, for whatever reason, we lost connection with you. But yeah, basically saying you're not afraid of him. Like, in other words, well, what happened to that Marine over the weekend? If you're going to bring it, be prepared to bring it, because people are going to start to defend themselves. No, what I find chilling is it's the breakdown, their words, not mine, of democracy. I know we're a constitutional republic, but they keep going on about democracy. Well, you lost the election. And instead of, you can oppose Trump, you can criticize Trump, you can get ready for the midterms, even though it's, next year? But okay, that's fine. That's just part of the process. But what has he done that suddenly now he's a dictator? So he was a dictator before he was elected. He's a dictator after he's elected. He's a dictator now in power. So what? Passing executive orders? Well, all Biden did and Obama did. As Obama famously said, I have a pen and I have a phone. So how come it's okay for other presidents to use executive orders, but not Trump? And what has he actually done that's quote unquote dictatorial? What? Fire people from the federal bureaucracy? So what? You can't get fired if you're in the federal government? What? Sir, really, what? Secure the border? What? Deport criminal illegal aliens? What? Try to bring a peace between Russia and Ukraine? So, again, Hitler was a warmonger. Hitler wanted war. Donald Trump wants peace. Just to give you an obvious example, Donald Trump respects and abides by every judicial ruling. He just appeals. So what, he's not allowed to appeal? He's not allowed? So what I'm saying is, so where is the dictatorship? There isn't any. But again, they can just yell and scream, dictator, 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 dictator. And that's the scary part. The Bills in Sudbury, the Franks in Gloucester, they're like, he's a dictator. And you're going to see eventually this thing is going to spill over to the streets. You keep pushing this narrative. You keep fear-mongering. You keep inciting. You keep with this nonstop panic porn. And look, Trump had already another assassination attempt over the weekend. And I fear it's only going to get worse. Agree, disagree. You know, why can the left get away with things that conservatives can't? Again, if I said, you know, Republicans must be willing to fight and die to stop Joe Biden. If I openly called for an insurrection, I'm gone. Not only am I off the air, I got the FBI and the Secret Service breathing down my throat. I'm lucky they don't throw me in the clink. But this woman, ignorant, stupid, arrogant, can stand there and openly call for violence on ABC. Nothing. Literally, nothing. Nothing. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Andy.
Hey, Jeff, I'm just going to start off with just some quick fun trivia. What does the Kuhner report and a cup of Maxwell House coffee have in common the first thing in the morning?
They wake you up?
They wake you up, but they're both good to the last drop.
Oh, thank you, Andy. That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you. Thank you, my friend. Andy, what do you make of all this?
What I make of all this, Jeff, is 312 electoral votes with a popular vote mandate of at least over 78 million. We've got to keep coming back in their grill with that, because their insurrection is not against Trump, and it's not even against President Trump at this point. It is against the American people. The American people spoke, and we did not speak for them. And we've got to just keep aggressively reinforcing that. That's the first point. The second point, Jeff, is I've looked at a lot of things over the weekend, and the point you were making last week about the possibility of us becoming an 80-20 country, I think that's where this is headed if they don't stop this nonsense. And
I think you're dead on. I think, Andy, you're absolutely dead on. Look, when you start calling for Democrats to go out and pick up a gun and, you know, start shooting Republicans or start shooting Trump and, you know, start rioting on the streets and, you know, waging insurrection on the streets, you're asking for trouble. I mean, you're asking for serious trouble. No, and the amazing thing is this, Andy. What are we now, 50 days into Trump's presidency? Okay, barely 50 days. Already he's a dictator. Like, already you guys are starting with this dictator stuff. Already now you've got Al Green. I can play the cut again. He speaks for AOC. He speaks for Jasmine Crockett, Ayanna Pressley, Ed Markey. I know he was in Malden over the weekend. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. So when he says we are so close now to a dictatorship, we're right there. We're just right there. We're right there. There's Hitler. He's opening the door. He's about to come into the room. Here it is. So 50 days in, and they're already with this dictator garbage. But what they don't want to tell you, Andy, and I think you're right, I think it's because they see the country going 80-20. They see their power and their grip on power slipping away. And so they'd rather burn the whole thing down, burn it to ashes, than allow Trump to take the country away from them and to take their power away from them. I think that's what this is really all about. And, you know, one of the big stories late last week into this weekend, it should be a massive scandal. Where are the Republicans? As usual, I don't know. But now it's come out, Andy, that almost everything signed by Joe Biden while he was president was through autopen. It wasn't his own personal signature. So this guy, they threw him to Delaware, where he was there, God knows what he was doing, okay, sucking on ice cream, okay, licking ice cream, Cherry Garcia ice cream, and they've got him there, and they're signing stuff in his name. Because all they need, they have the auto pen. So what they did was, on the first day of his presidency, come on, Joey, there you go, sign your signature, there it is, and they have it on file. And then it was click, 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 bills, auto pen, executive orders, auto pen, rules and regulations, auto pen. So who the hell authorized this? Who are the people actually signing on his behalf? We have no idea whatsoever. And they're lecturing us about a dictator, about a threat to democracy? We had a president who was so non-compos mentis, who was so mentally gone. Was it Jill that was signing on his behalf? Was it Susan Rice? Was it his chief of staff, Ron Klain? Was it John Kerry? Was it Obama? Was it, you take your pick. So this is how bad things are in this country right now. Then, forgive me, at the time. And they don't care. And they kept all of this hidden from us. All of this hidden from us. So, no, we had a cabal in the shadows that was governing this country for the last 4 years. And notice, Biden wouldn't take any press conferences. Biden wouldn't take any questions. Biden ran from the media. When he did, 1 or 2 a year? The questions were given to him in advance. The questioners were picked out for him in advance. The whole thing was staged and choreographed. And even then, he blew it. So maybe Kamala Harris was signing on his behalf. Who knows? With Trump, he's holding a press conference in the Oval Office every day. He's created his brand new, you want to talk about openness and transparency. He's created now this brand new precedent. I don't think we'll ever go back again, where there's the president in the Oval Office surrounded by reporters. Go ahead, fire away. Any question you want, go. As he's signing executive orders. Okay, yeah, you next. You, okay, you, okay, yeah, you. Okay, guys, 45 minutes of this, we're done. Okay, bye. So, Trump is open, Trump is transparent, Trump is constitutional, Trump is doing what he was elected to do, and this guy was an auto pen presidency. But no. Trump is the dictator. They're losing power, they're going down, and they know they're going down. In fact, and thank you for that call, Andy. In fact, Trump himself, in a wide-ranging interview a really interesting interview with Maria Bartiromo that aired on Fox over the weekend. Said, you know what? Even Trump is now saying the Democrats better be very careful because the issues now that they're trying to run on, men in women's sports, high inflation, a war on oil and natural gas, on fossil fuels, soft on crime, open borders, constant war, forever war against Russia and across the world. He goes, you go on issue after issue after issue. The Democrats are losing 80-20. And
there's something wrong with them. It's just something, I can't even believe it. They lost an election in a landslide. They were talking about men playing in women's sports. When I looked the other night, I made a speech. The Republicans were going wild, and the Democrats were having their little signs up, their little signs, their little tiny signs. And I said, it's unbelievable. They don't get it. They don't get it now. And I think they're going to end up being a minor party if they keep going like this, because people don't want to hear about these stupid ideas that they have. Transgender for everybody. And again, the men and women's sports, what is that, a 90-10 deal? I don't even know who the 10 would be. But they're fighting for it. And I try and say to myself, because you always like to understand where your opponent is, whether it's in business or anything else, is there something I don't understand? But we don't understand it.
It's not you, it's them. Donald, trust me, it's not you, it's them. That's why now they're starting to resort to more violent rhetoric. Because he thinks it's 90-10, let's be generous, it's 80-20. It's 80-20 on the border. It's 80-20 on men and women's sports. It's 80-20 on transgenderism. It's 80-20 on the issues of war and peace. It's 80-20 issue. It's 80-20 on Doge. And weeding out all of this fraud, waste, and abuse. This scandalous waste of our money and theft of our money. So you go across the board. It's 80-20. And that's why they got to start calling for blood to flow in the streets. Because otherwise, they're finished. Jeff in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing just fine. Now, as far as riots is concerned, I don't believe there'll be any rioting until people's stomachs are hungry. And I have a 4-point message on this issue. Number one, the gotaways who have gone over the border. If they start bombing electric, gas, and water plants, people will go hungry, along with trucks going to the supermarket. Number two, as far as racial violence is concerned with that Marine, the thing is, if people's stomachs go hungry, if you're the poor white guy living in an urban area like myself, it won't be the Trump supporters that'll be the enemy. It'll be white people living in those areas. We will be like South Africa if people's stomachs go hungry. Number three, as Trump is a hero, and I like Trump, but if Trump cuts the food stamps, if he really does cut Section 8 housing and he goes for the throat, that will cause riots to happen when people start getting thrown out into the streets. Read the Matt Bracken essay called When the Music Stops. It's a whole precipice on how riots and revolution can happen just by cutting off the welfare and then having the suburbs defend themselves. But before the riots happen, people's stomachs have to go hungry. They have to have the games cut off. Before that, it's just worse.
Look, Jeff. Look, Jeff. Let's cut to the chase, as you know, as you would say. Let's talk cold turkey. Trump is not going to cut any Medicare or Medicaid or food stamps or welfare or any of these other lavish social programs to any American citizen or legal resident of the United States. He's not going to do that because he knows if he starts cutting these big programs, the left is going to go absolutely berserk, and you're going to get mass mobilized opposition on the streets. What he is doing, and I back him 1,000%, is he's cutting off the food stamps slowly. He's choking them slowly but surely. He's tightening the screws. He is starting to cut off the welfare and the Section 8 and the Medicaid and the free health care and the free education and the waste, fraud, and abuse to illegal aliens. That's what he's saying. Get them off the Medicaid rolls. Get them off Medicare. I don't want them getting Social Security. I don't want them collecting welfare. I don't want them on food stamps. And the Democrats are trying to make it seem that he's really going after Americans who get these social services. No. He's going after the illegals. And Trump needs to make that much clearer. 720 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me just give you a very concrete example of why the Democrats are in such panic and why they're slowly becoming the 20 out of this 80-20 country that we're becoming. They're becoming a minority party, and if they're not careful, forget in national elections, they could lose, I'm not saying today or tomorrow, but over the next couple of years, California could go purple, Massachusetts could go purple, Illinois could go purple, New York could go purple. They better be very, very careful. Let me just give you an example. Take our own Hold It Healy, okay? Maura Healey. Recently now, she has come out and said, I don't know if you saw this, she's made a lot of news. She's doing late night shows. She's doing interviews for the New York Times, for the Boston Globe. She's trying to become, like Gavin Newsom, the face of the resistance. Vive la résistance. And now she's saying, because Trump is threatening to cut federal funding for health care, for schools, for education, that she may have no choice but to raise taxes. That she's going to have no choice but to impose massive tax hikes to make up for the shortfall. No. No way. I'm telling you right now, okay, as a resident of Massachusetts, I am not going to pay another penny in higher taxes. And I'll tell you why. Because these funding cuts are directly a response and a consequence to Maura Healey making Massachusetts a sanctuary state. By making this state a sanctuary state, that's why these federal funds are now in jeopardy. So, don't blame Donald Trump. Don't tell me now you need to raise my taxes. No one asked you to make this state a sanctuary state. You did that on your own. And you turned it into a magnet for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of illegals to pour in. So, this is a direct consequence of your globalist, open borders, unlimited illegal immigration policy. You wanted sanctuary cities. You wanted a sanctuary state. And now that is blowing up in your face, because now the money supply is going to get, the federal funds are going to get cut off. I'm going to have to pay more in taxes? We're going to have to all pay more in taxes? I'm telling you right now, if she thinks she can impose tax hikes, she's going to face a massive tax revolt. I am not going to pay for more welfare for illegals. I am not going to pay for more Section 8 for illegals. I'm not going to pay for more mass health, state Medicaid for illegals. And I'm certainly not going to be paying for them to be put up in 5-star hotels and motels with 3 catered meals a day. Absolutely not. No way. So, if she thinks she's going to blame Trump and thinks that she's going to raise taxes for us to pay for illegals, I'm telling you right now, she's going to lose every Republican, she's going to lose most independents, and she's going to lose a lot of Democrats in this state. She is going to destroy her political future. Already now, if you've noticed, the polls are showing she's taking a beating. Already now, her poll numbers are starting to slowly crater. This is going to finish her off. And this is the problem now. The Democrats, they've painted themselves into a corner. They say they're the party of illegals. They say they're the party of compassion and diversity and inclusion and tolerance. But they want us to pay for it. And you've got all of these illegals now who are siphoning off limited resources. You've got citizens in Boston, veterans sleeping on the streets. You've got now schools that are overrun, overcrowded. We don't have enough teachers. Classroom sizes are way too big. We have emergency rooms now that are overcrowded. We now have people, veterans who can't even access housing, citizens who desperately need shelters. They can't get any shelters because it's all been taken over by the illegals. So, as they drain and bankrupt our social service programs that Maura Healey let in, she wants us to pay more in taxes over my dead body. 7:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you can text us 70470, 70470. Honestly, this text, absolutely brilliant. I think hits the nail right squarely on the head. 603, Jeff, about Sonny Hostin calling for Democrats to go to the streets to essentially overthrow the Trump regime. For blood to flow, Democrats must fight and die. Al Green pushing an impeachment resolution backed by many Democrats, saying that Trump has now reached the point of being a dictator. So in relation to all of that, Jeff, I think what we're seeing on the left is essentially a boiled down extract of their hardcore supporters. Almost like what chefs call a reduction, when they boil a liquid down to its essence to make a sauce. The Democrats have had a large number of their moderate supporters stripped away from them, leaving only their most brainwashed, unreasonable, and extreme supporters. The 80-20% ratio supports this. And this remaining 20% is the most dangerous to society because they're the most unhinged and most easily manipulated. Bingo. Bingo. And to bring it back to what I was saying about Healey as an example. Okay, very quick because I want to go to the lines. The lines are full. Blazing, as I like to say. So she's trying now to blame Trump for the federal funding cuts that are going to be happening soon, both for healthcare and for education, saying, well, Trump's to blame. Trump's cutting off our funding for schools. Trump's cutting off our funding for healthcare. That's billions and billions and billions of dollars. I've got to make up the shortfall. I have no choice. I've got to raise taxes. Don't blame me. Blame Trump. No. I blame you. Because what you're not telling your gullible 20%, the radical left support your base, is that the reason the funds are getting cut is because you turned mass into a sanctuary state. Just like Hochul did New York, just like Pritzker did Illinois, just like Newsom did California. So, you're responsible for the funding cuts. And I'm not paying your taxes. I'm sick of your taxes. I pay through the nose in taxes. And I've got to be, again, honestly, like I'm in the confessional. I want to be brutally honest with all of you. I've never had this conversation with Grace. 12 years now, going on 13, okay, that we've moved here, to Massachusetts. My wife loves it here, loves it, has a lot of good friends. My children love it here. Ashton, Ava, they love their school, they love their friends, they love the state. I'm telling you, it's going to break their heart if we leave Massachusetts. And so, they say, happy wife, happy life. I always say this to people. Jeff, how are you? Hey, my wife's happy, my kids are happy, I'm happy. But for the first time, this was in fact last night, for the first time over dinner, I had a serious conversation with her about potentially leaving Massachusetts, probably relocating to New Hampshire. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying I'm putting the house up for sale. I'm not saying any decision has been made. I'm just saying I've never had this conversation before with my wife. And I said to her, I'm not paying taxes anymore. I'm done. Like I pay over $10,000 in property taxes alone. Never mind the excise taxes, never mind the sales tax, never mind the state income tax on top of the federal income tax. And then, and I know it's a slightly off topic, but it's why it's becoming an 80-20 country. Look at their insane green energy policies. Literally, it's insane. Maura Healey killed the pipeline. Maura Healey has, as Gavin Newsom did, I'm just using her as an example, okay? Killed the pipeline. So there's no oil and natural gas coming into our state anymore. She killed it. She was the one that pushed a radical green energy agenda. Convert to wind, convert to solar. Stop relying on fossil fuels. That's been the heart of her entire governorship. Well, wind and solar are incredibly expensive and incredibly inefficient. You can't power a modern economy on wind and solar. It's obvious. So costs go up and up and up. And under her leadership, energy prices, for example, like in California, like in New York, like in Oregon, like in Washington State, have skyrocketed. Let me tell you what my wife told me a couple days ago. She pays the bills. She's the finance minister, okay? Eversource, $1,300. National Grid, $1,200. She waved the bill in front of me, the two bills. She said, Jeff, that's $2,500 and change. Quote unquote, this is unsustainable. She goes, Jeff, I'm telling you, it's unsustainable. And she says the cost of energy in particular keeps going up and up and up and up. And what that charlatan, Maura Healey, is trying to claim now, it's Trump's tariffs. The tariffs are causing your electricity bill or your gas bill to be so high. Bull, you know what? Bravo Sierra, okay? Horse crap. It's her. Who killed the pipeline? She did. Who pushed his state to embrace solar and wind like the Germans on that insane green energy? And now literally Germany's paying 4 times the energy costs of most other countries in the world. It's practically broken the back of the German middle class. That's what she's doing to this state. Now, you combine the taxes, the super high cost of living, the high rent, the high home prices, now with the insane energy gas bills. How do you survive? Seriously, how do you survive? Now, I can just relocate to New Hampshire and my property taxes go down. I know they're high, but they're not high here. Like, they're not as high as here. Property taxes go down. Sales tax, there's no sales tax. Sorry, there's sales tax, but there's no state income tax. So taxes are much lower. My energy costs are cut in half easy. Easy. I'm saving thousands of dollars a month. I'm literally saving thousands of dollars a month. So, and now if I'm thinking it, and my family loves it here, my wife loves it here, my kids are going to fight. It's going to be World War III in the house if we decide to move. Okay? So if I'm thinking of moving, I don't know how other families are not leaving. Now you know why we get so many calls from Florida. Yeah, Jeff, Massachusetts, born and raised, I left. Jeff, Massachusetts, born and bred, I'm gone. She's shipping jobs out. She's shipping people out. She's shipping the tax base out. And she's trying to blame Trump? No. Look at yourself in the mirror. It's you. And your destructive, radical left-wing policies. Soon there's going to be no middle class and no working class. And then you're up a creek without a paddle. You can't build a prosperous society on third world illegal immigrants. Good luck. Good luck. That's your 80-20%. Agree, disagree. Claire in Hudson. Thanks for holding, Claire, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. You wanted to know a little while ago if, anybody was threatened for being a Trump supporter. Well,
Yes.
Listen to this. We have a Hudson Republican Town Committee that meets once a month. And every once in a while, we have a guest speaker. Well, the February meeting, we had 2 people scheduled that were at the January 6th rally in D.C. Well, a group of radicals...
Mike, there's a flow to the show. You know what I mean? Like, geez, the way you run that clock. All right, Claire, please hang on. I'm going to come right back to you. I'm up against the break. Next. 7:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Let's go right back to Claire in Hudson. Claire, so you were saying you want to hear an example of Trump supporters being harassed or persecuted by crazy radical leftists or anti-Trumpers. Please, Claire, tell us what happened.
Well, I belong to the Hudson Republican Town Committee, and every month we held a meeting. And our local bank allows us to use their community room for the meeting. Well, in February, we had 2 guest speakers scheduled to appear at the meeting, and we put the invite out on Facebook that these 2 people were going to be there. Everybody was invited, and the 2 people were people that had gone to the January 6th rally in D.C. Well, these left-wing radicals saw the invite, and they started threatening the bank, telling the bank that they were going to have a huge protest outside the bank the night that we were going to have our guest speakers. And so the bank had to tell us, I'm sorry, you can't, because they were really threatening bank employees. So these left radicals said, we will allow you to have your meeting, just not that meeting, or face the consequences. Now, you tell me if our First Amendment rights weren't under attack that night.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Claire, what ended up happening?
Well, what ended up happening is we ended up going to a local pub, but we didn't advertise it or anything. We just, as a group, went to this local pub, and the two people that we were going to have at the meeting showed up, and the side that were protesting us having them there didn't know that we were there until afterwards, and they were not happy that we actually got to meet these two people that were at January 6th. If anybody wants to know all the particulars, they can look at the Hudson ROTC, the Hudson Republican Town Committee Facebook page, because it's all on there. It was incredible. Incredible.
You know, I got to say, Claire, what's it to them, these Antifa, radical left-wing thugs? That's what they are. They're thugs. What's it to them if, the Hudson Republicans want to listen to a couple of people who were there on January 6th? Let them. It's a free country. What's it to them? Like, this is what I don't understand. They're against freedom of speech. They're against freedom of assembly. They're against freedom of expression. Let them, hear what these people have to say. What's the problem? Claire, what are they so afraid of? What's your theory?
They were protecting the town from white supremacists and insurrectionists. And they felt that they had the right to protect the town that way. It was unbelievable.
It really was. Well, Claire, look, I'm happy you stood up to them. The Hudson Republicans stood up to them. You made a really smart move going to that pub. And, but that's what I mean. You got to stand up to these people because they're thugs. They're intolerant. They're illiberal. And they keep saying about Trump wanting to be a dictator. No. The only ones that are dictatorial is them. And you can see it again and again and again. Claire, thank you very much for that story. 617-266-6868. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, and a happy Monday to you, my friend.
Happy Monday, my friend.
So, Jeff, before I get to I have a few points, but before I get to it, I just want to start this week off with a little bit of humor, okay, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So today, Joe Biden is finally being recognized for his one and only accomplishment as President of the United States. In fact, they actually named today National Napping Day.
Mark, really, is today really National Napping Day?
Yes, it is. It was on Fox News this morning.
Well, nobody could out-nap Biden, I'll tell you that. He's the heavyweight champion of napping. Mark, buddy, what do you make of all this?
I want to answer your question from earlier. If I ever experienced, any violence towards me or anybody I know with these radical left whack jobs, and do I fear for my life at all? I don't fear for my life, Jeff, as much as I do for my president's life. I mean, look what happened the other day at the White House. There was a guy on a freaking suicide mission to assassinate the president. Okay, they nipped that in the bud. And then you have a plane, which you didn't mention today, flying over restricted airspace over Mar-a-Lago that had to get escorted out by F-16 fighter jets. Now, these are things, Jeff, that don't happen every day, but as soon as Trump becomes president, all of a sudden it becomes the norm. What do you think, Jeff?
Oh, look, I think you're really onto something. I'm just very, me, Mark. Look, I believe in speaking the truth no matter what. That's why I'm behind this microphone. This is the one topic I'm a little uneasy about because I never want to be misunderstood as giving people ideas or encouraging people but look, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. It's been about 2 weeks now where Grace and I intermittently will chat, and she will just tell me out of the blue on her own, I'm very worried for Trump's safety. I'm very worried for his life. Now, that wasn't the case. She was worried about him in this, obviously after the assassination attempt in Butler and then the other attempted assassination attempt in Florida at the golf course. But that died down a little bit after November. And for about the first 2-3 weeks, she wasn't that worried. But I'm telling you, it's been about 2 weeks now. You and her are very simpatico on that point, where she's like, Jeff, the way they talk about him, the way they rage against him, the way they lie about him, the demagoguery, the hatred, the incitement, the hysteria, because she will look at MSNBC, she'll look at CNN, she'll look at the New York Times. She says, Jeff, I've never seen anything like this. And I'm very worried that someone's going to assassinate him. He's making a lot of powerful enemies, and you can see the manipulation from the media. Like, someone needs to stop this guy. And so I'm with you, Mark. I'm very, very, I always pray for the president's safety and for his security. But I think there's no question, Mark, that 80-20 split that we've been talking about, I honestly think that 20% want him dead. Look, Sonny Hostin all but said it. She basically all but said it. She went as far as you could possibly go, without obviously committing career suicide and probably going to jail. She went as far as you could possibly go to say, kill him. When she says, are Democrats willing to fight and die to stop a Trump dictatorship? She's saying as far as you can say, going as far as you can go, will somebody take this guy out before the whole thing, before, we're Weimar and the Nazis seize full power? Mark, am I wrong?
You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that, well, we have people like Sonny Hostin to thank for this crap that's going on right now. And as a matter of fact, this morning, I went on X Twitter's Secret Service official page, and I said, so what time will Sonny Hostin be expecting to knock at her door this morning? Bright and early, I hope.
Mark, as always, dynamite stuff. Mark, thank you very, very much for that call. I really appreciate it. No, again, I know I keep harping on this, but the double standard, it's sickening. It really is. Look, I'm telling you, if Jesse Waters, I'm just going to pick a name out of a hat, okay? If Laura Ingraham, if Sean Hannity, if I don't take your pick, okay, somebody, whatever, Sean Spicer on Newsmax. Okay, I'm just going to pick. If they came out and said, hey, Republicans, you gotta fight and die. Biden is posing an existential threat to the United States, and you gotta fight and die to stop this guy before it's too late. They're gone. They're finished. They're removed from the air, and I'm telling you, under Biden's Secret Service, they'd be knocking on their door. There'd be a raid at 3 o'clock in the morning with CNN cameras outside. So, look, I'm telling, and it's only going to get worse. What you saw at the State of the Union or whatever, the joint address to Congress, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Their hate now, their heart is full with hate. Their hate is like a cancer. It's consuming them. It's devouring them. It's overwhelming, overpowering them. And let's be honest, that 20% now that we're talking about, they want Trump dead. They don't just want him defeated. They don't just want him to lose the midterms. They don't just want him to be politically blocked. No, they hate him so much, they want him gone. They want him literally buried. I mean, am I wrong? 617-266-6868 is the number. Ellen in Lowell. Thanks for holding, Ellen, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate you. Hardcore American here.
Thank you.
My comment, God bless you, and I'm sorry about your dad. Losing a parent is really difficult.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
With that being said, my number one thing is Maura Healey is the worst thing that's ever happened to Massachusetts. She just recently authorized an 11% increase to all her employees. How about giving that back to the Massachusetts? We cannot afford another nickel in taxes. I want some money back. My husband and I have a small automotive repair shop in Wakefield. We can't afford to give ourselves a raise. We haven't given ourselves a raise in over 5 years. What the hell is going on?
Well, Ellen, I agree with you. And this is the thing. I really, honestly, I go grocery shopping. I can't believe how much food costs. Here, I was just there on Sunday. I didn't buy anything. What did I buy? I bought some milk. I bought some bread. Kids wanted some bananas. Ava wanted strawberries. I had half a cart. And, milk. The kids like milk. Threw in, they want some muffins. I got them some muffins. $165. I'm like, this is insane. I didn't buy any meat. I didn't buy any vegetables. I bought some fruits, but that's about it. I bought no meat. None. I didn't buy beef. I didn't buy chicken. I didn't buy any beef. Sorry, any meat. Forgive me. I bought no meat. And I'm just looking, I'm shaking my head, and I'm like, how do people do it? I'm telling you, I don't know how middle-class people do it. And then you throw in the mortgage, the cost of living, the rent, the electricity bill, the gas bill. When I tank up now, it's $70. $75, bang, gone, right there. So I'm like, there's nothing left. I don't know how people do it. And now I hear this a lot. I talk to a lot of people when I go out. I like to, just talk to people and get a pulse, a sense of what's going on. Family of four, doesn't matter where you go. You go out for pizza, it's $100 in this state. Okay, it's like California. It's $100. Gone. Easy. $100 to take your family for pizza? $100 for burgers and shakes and fries? $100 to take a family of four to Chipotle? Like, we're not talking fine dining. So the state is becoming too expensive on every level, on every front. And I'm telling you, it's unsustainable. And if the Republicans were smart, which they're not, because you have that clown, Amy Carnevale, who's running the Mass GOP, all she's good at is sending these ridiculous emails. All these strongly worded emails. We condemn this. We condemn that. Why don't you do something? Do some mobilizing. Do some organizing. Remember, when they voted her in to run the Massachusetts Republican Party, she's a winner. She's a winner. She's a fundraiser. It's going to be raining money into the Mass GOP. She's a fighter. Okay? Garbage. All a pack of lies. All of it. She's a lobbyist. That's all she's good at. That's all she cares about. So, but outside of, these ridiculous emails that they keep sending out, if they were smart, you make cost of living the issue. You make illegal immigration the issue. You make higher taxes to pay for our sanctuary state the issue. You make Healy's green energy policies and how it's destroyed the middle and working class the issue. But that's beyond them. That's beyond these people. But I'm telling you, it's going to happen on its own, Ellen. And so either two things are going to happen. I'm telling you, it's door one or it's door two. Either we're going to go the way of California, where we just bleed people. California is bleeding taxpayers, middle, working class people, small businesses. They're going to Arizona. They're going to Nevada. They're going to Texas. They're leaving in droves. So either you have an outflight of people just say enough. For sale sign, while you can still get something for your house, and you're gone. Or the state's going to economically implode. You're going to see the state just economically crash because this can't go on much longer. And that's what Trump in the White House. Okay. That's a guy, drill, baby, drill, secure the border, start deporting illegals, focused like a laser on the economy, bringing down inflation, bringing back jobs, manufacturing. So if you've got a pro-growth, pro-business president and your state is too expensive to live in, Beacon Hill, we got a problem. Ellen, final word to you.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate all you do again. Like I say, thank you for taking my call. I'm a hardcore American. I've voted Democratic once. It was the first time I ever voted that way. Never again. I've been an independent ever since. Please, people, think about what's going on here. We need to stand up for ourselves. Nobody else will do it. God bless
Amen.
You and your family.
God bless you, Ellen. No, you're dead on. We've got to start standing up for ourselves. Look, here it is, okay? Here's my prediction. She raises taxes like she's threatening to do to make up for the shortfall and the cuts to federal funding for healthcare and education. You're going to see a massive tax revolt. You see, they keep going to the well over and over and over. And you keep thinking, well, the people will take it. They'll pay a little more, and they'll pay a little more, and they'll pay a little more. You can't keep sucking blood from a stone. You can't. You can't take blood from a stone. And I'm telling you, you're going to see a massive tax revolt. A massive tax revolt. 617-266-6868. Maura Healey is the Kamala Harris of Massachusetts. This is overreach. And just like Kamala broke the back of the Democratic Party, that's what Maura Healey, she's this close now to doing it. 617-266-6868. Look, I just want to ask, in all seriousness, okay? Is it better for the Kuhner man to relocate to New Hampshire? Because I'm getting tons of pros and cons. I'm getting a lot of people texting the Kuhner man saying, yeah, but if you move to New Hampshire, Jeff, you still got to pay Massachusetts state income taxes. So you're paying the high property taxes in New Hampshire, and you don't, yes, the New Hampshire residents don't pay state income. If you live and work in New Hampshire, you don't pay state income tax. But if you work in Massachusetts, they still hose you down with the state income tax. So you get hit with the state income tax, even though you live in New Hampshire, but, I work in Mass. So it's not that much of a benefit. Now, they do say cost of housing is lower. They do say cost of rent is lower. They do say overall the cost of living is lower. And they say, Jeff, the energy costs are lower. So on the whole, you do save money. But they go, Jeff, not as much as you think if you work in Massachusetts. 617-266-6868 is the number. Look, obviously we're going to stay at least for a bit longer. I mean, I'm not leaving tomorrow, that's for sure. But she raises taxes. Either the Kuhner man's going to lead a tax revolt, or I may just put up a for sale sign. I'm just, it's how I feel today, Monday. Maybe I'll change tomorrow or Wednesday, but I have never, ever in my 13 years here had a conversation with my wife about seriously selling the house and relocating to New Hampshire. But when I saw that story, and it's not just that it's higher taxes, okay? It's that I'm going to pay for all these illegals. I mean, I'm already paying. We're already paying for these illegals. So she wants now to raise taxes on every prescription drug that you buy. $2. She wants to now tax you $2 for every prescription. So, like, I have high blood pressure, I have cholesterol, I have acid reflux, I have my diabetes. I got some prescriptions. $2 every time I refill my prescription to pay for illegals? And now she wants to add even more taxes to that? I'm not working to pay for illegals. I'm sorry, I'm not. I got better things to do with my life. Your reaction, your calls. Next. 21 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Sandy made a very interesting point to me off air. She said, Jeff, yes. Like, I was talking about a friend of mine. I don't want to mention his name, but texted me maybe 5 minutes ago. Moved to New Hampshire from Massachusetts last year, building a beautiful home on 12.6 acres. I'm like, wow. Wow. And he's paying just north of $6,000 in property taxes. I'm like, $6,000 compared to what I pay. My God, I'd kill to pay $6,000. Well, he used to live in Pembroke in Mass. Said $9,500. He was paying $9,500 in property taxes. Now, Sandy makes the point, yeah, but the schools in New Hampshire are nowhere near as good as the schools, well, many of the schools in New Hampshire are nowhere near as good as most of the schools in Massachusetts. So, yeah, you're paying a lot less in taxes, and you're paying a lot less even in property taxes, but the schools are not funded the way they're funded in Massachusetts. And she said, with your two kids, you got to really seriously consider that. Interesting. I got a text from my own, I knew this was going to happen. I got a text from my own wonderful wife, Grace, and she said, Jeff, newsflash, you're already paying for illegal aliens. Like, what do you think we're all paying for now? So if she raises taxes some more, she goes, now you're going to take your stand? So my wife and my kids are already saying no. They're already saying, no, absolutely not, we're staying. Recall Healy. She goes, Jeff, recall Healy. If you want, I'll even support you to run against her, for God's sake. But moving is not the answer. So anyway, look, I'm a fighter. You know I'm a fighter. I'm not going to stop fighting Healy, but I'm just telling you, when you start hearing about more taxes potentially coming down the pike to pay for the fact that she turned this state into a sanctuary state, it's a little demoralizing and a little depressing. That's all I'm saying. 617-266-6868. You know what it is? You can't put money aside. Like, the money just keeps flying out. Like, they go, do you have a savings account? What savings? And just when you think you're getting ahead, you start putting a little something away. Then there's the car payment, or the kids need pants, or they need sneakers, or whatever. It's always, bang, and then bang, and then bang. And you're like, you can't put money away. See, that's the problem. You spend it as fast as you make it. 617, at least in this state. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Jim in Wilmington. Thanks for holding, Jim, and welcome.
Jeff, listen, I got a quick 10-second story before I tell you what harassment I've had up in Wilmington. So anyway, my neighbor was coming out of work in Boston. Car hit her. It was two illegals. The car's into her car. The guy puts the window down. She puts her window down. In a menacing face, he says to her, listen, how do you people like working every day of your life for us? And they drove away. Imagine that.
Wow. Jim, he was that brazen? He literally said that? How do you people like working for us every single day?
Yes, it was my neighbor, and he had a soft heart for the illegals, and you know what? They changed. So they got mugged, basically, in a sense.
Yeah, you got mugged by reality. By the way, that's the definition of a conservative. A conservative is a liberal who's mugged by reality. And that's how they become conservatives. That's what happened to your friend. I'm grateful to the illegal for at least telling him to his face. You know, he hits you with his car. You roll down your window. He rolls down his window. He goes, how do you like paying for me every day? For paying for us every day. Bye. Jim, please keep going, my friend.
Okay, so I have flags, small flags outside my property. I put them out there all the time, and I have one on my on my mailbox. Well, they kept stealing them. The one on my mailbox kept breaking it off. So I just kept replacing them, and then I put the Trump sign out, and it was on my front lawn. Well, then somebody let their dog do.
Ugh. Jim, can you hang on? I'm up against a break. Please, I want to come right back to this. It looks like poor Jim was getting his signs, his flags, everything taken down. We'll take that. More of your calls next. 8:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. All right, let's go right back to Jim in Wilmington. So, poor guy puts a sticker on his mailbox, tries to put a sign. He keeps getting harassed by these crazy moonbats. Jim, please pick up where you left off.
And multiple flags were stolen, so I put the Trump sign out. Now I got the dog stuff all out there. And I didn't realize it was actually like 4 or 5 piles. And then the next day, the Trump sign is down. So I go out. The guy stepped in his own dog's feces and then in his boot and put it on the sign and crushed the sign down. It's got a boot, you know, the impression of a boot with the feces on my Trump sign.
Jim, do you know who this guy is?
I put a sign out there, a white sign. I said, I got you on video. I know who you are. And I cleaned the stuff up. It never happened again.
Well, did you go to the police? I mean, I'm just curious, Jim. Why didn't you go to the police?
Trivial things, Jeff. This stuff happens to a lot of people, I'm sure.
Well, no, because if you're a liberal, if you're if you're one of these crazy Democrats, you know, one of these moonbats, oh my, they make a federal case out of it. Oh, they'd call Channel 4 and Channel 5 and 7 and 10 and 25 and the Globe and the Herald and, oh my God, my Kamala Harris sign was, you know, defaced and destroyed and, you know, the flags are being taken down and the stickers, you know, on my mailbox. It's the end of the world. You know, this is fascism. This is hatred. This is white supremacy. This is not who we are. I mean, they would make a show and a spectacle. You just cleaned up everything, told the guy I got you on video, and it stopped.
So I'm good. Imagine putting your boot in your own dog stuff and doing that. And then you got to go home and clean that up. I don't know.
I mean, they're
People
sick.
are crazy.
They're sick. I'm telling you, Jim, they're sick. These people, look, liberalism is a mental disorder. Seriously. These people are mentally ill. You're dealing with mentally ill people. Jim, has it gotten, I'm just curious, has it, in your view, is it getting worse or better?
I think it's going to get worse. I haven't heard anything else, you know, from other people, but I'm sure it's going to get worse. I wear a camouflage jacket because I hunt, and you wouldn't believe it. I'll be in a doctor's office or whatever, and people come in, they're not looking, and then they see me, they sit down, and they look at me. They get up and move as far as they can away from me. And I'm just wearing a camouflage jacket. I'm a good guy, you know?
Oh, why? Because they assume you're a Trump supporter?
Yes.
Yeah, because if you're a hunter, right? So they figure, well, if you're a hunter, you know, you're a Second Amendment guy, you got to be a Trump supporter. And, I mean, but look at this is what I'm saying, Jim. You know, it's like in the old South, you know, you see a black person and the whites wouldn't want anything to do with them. You know, like they can't stand the sight of them. You know, just stay away from them. Don't want to see them. Don't want to sit beside them. Don't want to breathe the same air as them. Don't want to look at them. That's what you're starting to see now from these libs. This kind of pure intolerance and bigotry. Jim, thank you very much for that call. He's completely right. I mean, look, poll after poll. Number one, the level of mental illness among liberals is much higher than conservatives. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt. Anger issues, depression issues, but mental health issues, there's no comparison. And on top of all of that, the way they hate, and I mean hate, Trump supporters, it's off the charts. 617-266-6868. Aaron in Idaho. Thanks for holding, Aaron, and welcome.
Jeff, I'm supposed to be Mr. Gloomy. I've noticed you've been Mr. Gloomy lately. So let me cheer you up by saying, we're winning, and I'm not getting sick of the winning. Three big points I want to make. By the way, it's my first time calling you since Trump was sworn in a second time, so I need to give a quick report card. His first 45 days has been better than his whole first term, as far as I'm concerned. He is practicing what Republican presidents have only preached. He's gone for the throat of the deep state. That's why Democrats are giving out death threats and violent threats, because Democrats' wallets are getting lighter from all the slush fund money going away. But a point I want to make that no one has noticed. You know I love doing that. I know noticing something no one else has noticed. I'll tell you another reason why the left is panicking. And it's not just because of the money and the deep state. We know that. The other reason why the left is panicking is because after 50 years, they are finally losing the culture wars. Ever since Vietnam, the hippies have controlled TV, film, the music industry. As Michael Savage, Ben Shapiro, Glenn Beck pointed out, what's the point of winning elections if the left controls the culture and the narrative? Look what has happened. The liberal news media's approval ratings are at its lowest point ever. By the way, you did an episode 5 weeks ago on Friday where you talked about the USAID money going to the media, to Reuters, to Politico. That was your best show of the year so far as I'm concerned. So now that money's running out.
Please keep going, Aaron. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please keep going.
Yeah, Jake Tapper has finally confessed what we already knew, that the press knew Biden was mentally in decline. He was not as sharp as attack, and the press admitted, yep, we lied. We lied the whole time. And by the way, buy my book. And the press wonders why their approval ratings are at an all-time low. But these days, but again, the days of the left controlling the culture are finally coming to an end. The Oscars had their lowest ratings ever. Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down from Lucasfilm. So as a Star Wars fan, we could get less woke Star Wars. 20 years ago, conservative websites were impossible to find. Now we've got Rumble, Joe Rogan, Blaze TV, Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh are making movies. That, in my opinion, is the real reason why the left is panicking. They have no more a hiding place to run to anymore.
They're collapsing. I agree with you. Look, Trump is breaking them piece by piece by piece. And look, Aaron, I think you're right. It's been an incredible 50 days. He's done more in 50 days than most presidents do in 4, frankly, even 8 years. And I think the most impressive thing, he's done many impressive things, but the most impressive thing he's done is culturally, politically, he's breaking the left. You can see that. He's hitting them on issue after issue. Again, he's turning the country into an 80-20 country. And that's why the left is going absolutely berserk. You're right. They don't control the culture like they used to. They don't control entertainment, Hollywood, academia, the media. Much of these institutions are dying or they're discredited. And I think that's the reason why, you're right, they're calling for violence now on the streets. They're in their death throes. It's like a death rattle. And so that's why they have to try to foment all of this hatred and hysteria about, Trump's a dictator, he's a white supremacist, he's a Nazi. We're there, we're practically there, the dictatorship. Go to the streets before it's too late. Nobody watches The View anymore. Nobody watches CNN anymore. People now laugh at MSDNC. And you're right. That Jake Tapper story is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So after denying it for 4 years, and there's clips of Tapper himself, fake Tapper, saying, how dare you say the president's suffering cognitive decline? How dare you say he's got senility? Where's your evidence? You're lying. Now he's coming out with a book saying, well, yeah, it was obvious. He was suffering from serious mental cognitive decline, and we in the media covered it up. We knowingly covered it up. By the way, so did you, Jake. And now he's going to make money off of that. I mean, it's just, so he was complicit in the massive lie and cover-up, and now he wants to put a few bucks in his pocket. And by the way, the book is co-written with an Axios reporter who I'm telling you has written 90% of the book. So just slap his name on it and put a little money in his pocket. He's a prostitute. That's what he is. And that's why the media now is in such an utter discredit and disarray. Nobody trusts him. Nobody believes him. Now, I'm telling you, Jeb Bush couldn't have done that. Marco Rubio, when he was running, couldn't have done that. Chris Christie couldn't have done that. Mitt Romney couldn't have done that. No one could have done it except Trump. And you're right. He's winning the culture war. And look, the best defense is a good offense. And I'm telling you this, Aaron, this was the biggest decision Trump made. He told his team, as they were getting ready to come back to power for the second term, he said, the biggest mistake I made in my first term was I let the left frame the narrative and the debate. From the moment I got in, we were on our heels, we were on defense. He goes, it's not going to be this way my second term. The second term, we're going to be on offense non-stop. Flood the zone. And that's exactly what Trump is doing. And now the liberals are going wild, apoplectic, because they're losing, and they're losing bad. Aaron, dynamite call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, quick reset. I want to go right back to the phone lines. Let me ask all of you. Sonny Hostin now, big story, now says Democrats need to, quote, fight and die to stop Trump. Other media outlets are saying, and liberals in the media are urging now that the Democrats, if need be, go violent to stop Trump. Your reaction next. You're not going to believe this. 8:51, by the way, on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare. They're raping me, man. I'm telling you, I'm being raped. So, remember that friend of mine I told you that moved from Massachusetts to New Hampshire? Anyway, he's got himself a nice house, 12.6 acres of land. He's paying $6,000 in property taxes. Used to be in Pembroke, Mass, where he paid $9,500 in property taxes. He goes, Kuhner, man. He goes, I heard you talking about your electricity bill and, your Eversource bill and how expensive it is. He goes, my electricity bill, $160. And for us, that was high. $160? I would kill for $160 electricity bill. Mine was $1,200. What's 160? $1,200. That from National Grid, blank you. And then from Eversource, the gas bill, $1,300. That's $2,500. This is what I'm saying. I talk to people. I go, is it me? Like, what am I, like, like, are they out to get me? Like, I'm saying, like, what am I doing? I mean, I keep the lights off. You don't use the power. We turn it off. It's not like we're keeping the lights on all day and all night. Showers at 10 minutes, whatever. Okay, Ashton likes to be there a little longer, more like 15 minutes, but still, it's not the end. I mean, we watch what we heat. We watch everything. And I'm like, it's $2,500 a month. So I start asking people, am I the only one? They're like, oh no, Jeff, I'm paying an arm and a leg. Oh, my energy costs, especially the last couple of years. National Grid, Eversource. Jeff, I'm choking. People are saying, I can't make the payments, Jeff. I'm behind on my payments. I'm several months behind. I have to space them out over the year. I can't keep up with the payments. So I know I'm not the only one. But I mean, this is what I'm saying. This is outrageous. We're being gouged. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, super quick. The Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Have you ever been accosted for your political beliefs? In other words, have you ever been harassed, persecuted, whatever, had people threaten you or give you a hard time because you're a Trump supporter or a conservative or whatever it may be? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage. Go to wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. I was very active on X. I'm still active on X. I'm always active on X. You can vote on my X, at my X handle. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn as in national ER. Okay, let me ask all of you. Do you fear that Democrats will start resorting to violence because they seem to can't stop Trump on any of his major policy initiatives and his agenda? Do you now fear they are becoming so radical and so extreme that they may now start to adopt out-and-out violence? 617-266-6868. Lines are jammed. Sue in Boston. Thanks for holding, Sue, and welcome.
Thanks. Hi, thanks, Jeff. This is Sue Ianni. I'm the J6er that I guess you were talking about earlier. When I woke up, I got a message, Kuhner's talking about you. So I wanted to comment on what happened in Hudson. We were invited Mark Sahady and I were invited to speak to the Hudson Republican Town Committee. It was a private meeting, but it was also going to be on a podcast called Civil Matters. And this was all set up privately through the RTC. Well, when Hudson advertised it, Antifa and Antifa wannabes saw it. And then they started trouble. Because it was going to take place inside a community room lent out by a Vidya Bank in Hudson, they lent it out to the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, who knows, AA, whoever. It's the kind of thing they do. But they weren't involved in, what the meeting was about. These people attacked the bank. They attacked Mark and me. They attacked the Hudson RTC. But I just want to point out how much they attacked the bank. They were telling people they're having Nazis there, white supremacists, violent terrorists who tried to kill cops. None of this is true. I would like to say, for the record, for all your audience, Mark Sahady and I are vehemently opposed to any kind of Semitism, anti-Jewish hatred. We're opposed to that. We're opposed to any kind of white supremacy ideology, Nazi, any of that. But I was online with these people. I could have been blue in the face telling them they don't care. They have their orders. So they don't let up. I figured there's got to be somebody sane on this. It was the Hudson Mass RTC Facebook page, and they just filled it. And also the Avidia Bank Facebook page filled it. And I figured somebody's got to be sane. They got to listen to reason. We're not this. We're not what you say. And we weren't violent. We didn't even think we'd get in trouble that day. You know, we were let in by cops. You know, people were even asking to use the bathroom and being directed, oh, down the hall there's a long line. You know, it was like that by the time we got in. And still, these people are like, you're going to make Hudson unsafe. This is, we have to stop these people from speaking here.
No, Sue, I agree with you. Look, I completely agree with you. And this is what I think you and Mark and the audience, frankly, everybody needs to understand. What has now been exposed by Doge, conclusively, irrefutably, these are paid activists. They're taking money. So you can argue with them till they're blue in the face. They're completely disingenuous. 99% of them don't believe what they're saying. I mean, you have a few seriously indoctrinated, brainwashed nuts. Okay? Like, I mean, they're hardcore Marxists, communists, anarchists, Maoists. I mean, they're crazy. They're ideological fanatics. And with a fanatic, you can never reason with a fanatic anyway. But most of those people that targeted you, targeted Mark, targeted the Hudson, Republican Town Committee, and did not want you to speak, that's USAID money. That's George Soros money. That's them saying, we're going to go after these people and paint them as a bunch of Nazi white supremacists. And you can stand there and tell them how you're all for peace and you don't have a thing against the Jews and you hate Hitler and we're all equal in the eyes of God. And they don't care. They're going to repeat the lie over and over and over and over again. Now, I'm telling you that I know this because I've been the target of this myself. The Boston Globe lies about me, and they know they're lying. The Boston Herald lies about me, and they know they're lying. That's what they do. They're paid to lie. The Democrats lie about me. They're paid to lie. So what I'm saying is, when you're dealing with professional paid liars, they're completely and utterly disingenuous. They're not to be taken seriously. They get paid, and they'll repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So that's what we're dealing with. And I think it's time that we understand that we got to fight by different methods. We in the past have done what you've done, what I've done, which is take them on their own terms. Say, but no, I'm against violence. But no, I love Jews. Well, how could you call me an anti-Semite? How could you call me a Nazi? I oppose everything that Nazism believes in. They just keep repeating the smear over and over and over again. We have to ignore them and attack them. That's what we have to do. We have to do the, yeah, right. Who's paying you? No, you're communist scum. That's what you are. You're the totalitarian thugs. What's the matter? Too much free speech for you, scumbag? In other words, we have to set the terms of the debate, not them. And we have to say it now, over and over and over. They're being paid. They're AstroTurf. They are controlled, moneyed opposition. They are being paid to smear and defame people. And once we start to expose that, then they're finished. But if we keep acting on the defense, that's why they keep going on offense. We have to start going on offense. We have to start accusing them and exposing them for who and what they are. They're the radical lunatics. They're the corrupt communists. The true fascists are them. We never deny them a town hall meeting. We never deny them a chance to speak. We never say you can't meet in a group or deliver a talk to a town committee or a town hall or whatever. But they keep wanting to do that to us. And I'm sorry. They're the fascists. And it's time they be called that. Now, until we start doing that and do it in a very aggressive way where we show them we don't listen to you, we don't pay attention to you, we don't take you seriously, we don't respect you because you're a bunch of whores. You're all on the take. So why the hell should I believe a single word that comes out of your mouth? Don't give them any more of that power. And if we do that, we'll crush them. What say you?
I agree 100%. I gave up on it. But I want to point out, you had brought up the violence and the threatened violence. I had several threats, death threats, that I reported to the police. Can I just go over some of them real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Here's one man who kept making threats. He goes by a fake name, Marvin Heemeyer, which is someone that's in history, I guess. 100 years ago, when they had a rally in the state, they were driven off with rocks. And he has a picture of a paper with the KKK. Why be peaceful this time around? It's the same thing with the same message. So he wanted to drive us off with rocks. Another one, somebody wrote, nobody wants traitors around. And then another one, Ryan Buck here, not sure if these are real names or not, has a picture of a guillotine. Then I have you ever sat in your running car in the garage with the windows rolled down? You should try it right now. Not everyone who's Antifa agrees with you. Some just think you would be better with 6 feet of dirt on top of you. Also, I think she'd look great with a parked car on top of her. These are the kinds of things that they go on and on. And what they use, they say the First Amendment only, the Constitution only applies to government stopping speech. And we have every right to, try to stop this speech. And nobody said that they can have free speech without consequences. Well, what the hell is free speech then? If you can't have it without consequences, you're shutting people up.
Yeah, just turn it around on them. No, but Sue, that's what we got to say. Okay, then you don't have free speech. Okay. You know what? You'll be, you'll look better with a car parked on you. In other words, look, Sue, my person, did you go to the police, by the way? I'm just curious. Did you call the police?
To the police and everything they were doing, I made a complaint over, at my hometown police, because there were online threats. It wasn't in Hudson. Yeah.
And what did I'm just curious, what did the police do?
Well, he listened, and he seemed very concerned, but he took a report, but I'm going to email him today and find out what they're doing, if anything, about this.
Well, that's because what they did was incitement to violence. Some of those threats, that's not free speech. What they're asking for you, they're calling for you to be murdered. That's incitement. That's not free speech. So some of that stuff you read, some of it is just inflammatory. It's reckless. It's dangerous. It's disgusting. It's obscene. But some of it is, no, that's an out and out threat. That's illegal. That's illegal. You can't, look, I can't go on the internet or anything and start saying, hey, this person should be killed. I can't do that. You get arrested. So to me, I would call the police and say, I want to press charges. I want to find out who this person is, and I want to press charges. Like, we've got to start fighting back. And when they say we don't have the right to free speech, okay, you don't have the right to free speech. F off. Get lost. You know what? communists don't have the right, if that's the way they want to play it, those that push for revolutionary violence and the revolutionary overthrow of the American government, which is what Antifa does, you don't have the right to free speech. You don't respect our Constitution. You don't believe in our Constitution. You want to overthrow our Constitution. Then why should it apply to you? And you know what? You've lost. No, you don't have the right to free speech. If this is how they want to play it, they're not going to win. So if they start saying, well, you don't have the right to free speech, well, you don't have the right to free speech. So get lost. What they're doing is a recipe for political violence. That's what this is all leading to. Now, where's Pam Bondi? Where's Kash Patel? Where's the FBI? You got to nip this stuff in the bud because it's like a cancer. It'll spread and spread and spread until it kills you. Sue, please call the police. Don't let go of this issue. They threatened you. They broke the law when they threatened you, and the police should investigate and start prosecuting these people. We've got to stop appeasing Antifa. Enough is enough. Thank you for that call, Sue. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Long live our political savior, President Trump. His truth is marching on without question. Jeff, it's not easy being a patriotic conservative in Massachusetts. The Democratic Party is controlled by left-wing extremists. There's no doubt about that. In Massachusetts, we replace one a-hole with another a-hole when we vote. Yes, Mayor Wu has to go. Josh Kraft agrees with Mayor Wu as far as Boston being a sanctuary city. Did the focus group he paid tell him that the majority of voters in Boston want Boston to be a sanctuary city? I have a tough time believing that, but it must be the case. And let's face it, in every election in Massachusetts, we prove liberalism is a mental disorder. Thank you, Mike Savage, for pointing that out to me, because I could never figure it out until you told us what it is. It's a mental disorder.
Russ, do you fear that the left is going to get more violent?
You know, Jeff, let me put it this, okay? We can always put them down, okay? But I don't worry about that, okay? And especially since I have a license to carry a gun, okay? And believe me, I wouldn't want to kill anybody, but put me at risk and attack me with a deadly weapon and see what you're going to get.
Well, you know, Russ, I think Antifa better be very careful, because I agree with you. I think they're playing with fire. And I think they don't realize the country's pretty much had it with them. And you know what I find amazing, Russ? They keep going on about January 6th and January 6th and January 6th and about all police officers were attacked. Antifa, Black Lives Matter? Now you care about the cops? All they did was wage a war on police for years. All they did was riot, burn, loot, shoot at police officers, kill police officers, maim police officers, declare a war on police officers, say that cops are all a bunch of racists. Now, all of a sudden, you love the police? Get lost, you phony, you fraud, you. 921 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, couple of lines are open if you want to jump on. One of the ways now that the Democrats are trying to drum up as much outrage against Trump is they're trying to brand him as a racist. They're desperate now. He's putting together a multiracial working class coalition, a majority political coalition. So they've got to desperately now tattoo him as a racist or a bigot before Trump begins to permanently peel away Latino voters, black voters, Asian voters, you name it, across the board. And so What they're now claiming is that, remember, during his joint address to Congress, Trump asked about, does anybody want this war in Ukraine to continue and to keep spending hundreds of billions of dollars? Well, Chief Full of Bull, Elizabeth Warren, blurted out, you can read her lips, you bet I do. Yes, I do. And so Trump then said, yeah, okay, Pocahontas wants this war to continue. And everybody started to laugh. Well, listen now to this. Congressman Jamie Raskin, one of the people on the January 6th Unselect Committee, went on MSDNC, and not only did he side with Al Green, Big Al, saying he never should have been censured, he did nothing wrong, waving his cane menacingly at Trump and disrespecting the president and speaking over the president and disrupting the president. But he says, no, the one that needs to be censured is Donald Trump. And Democrats now are going to try to get a censure resolution because Trump called Warren Pocahontas. Listen now to this. Roll cut 17, Mike.
Al Green was making a very strong, valid, substantive point, which is there is no mandate to destroy Medicaid. And the vast majority of Democrats rejected the idea of censuring him. And really, if we were censuring anybody, it should have been Donald Trump, who I don't think had been back to our chamber since he incited a violent insurrection against us. And then he used his pulpit in order to call a sitting member of the United States Senate Pocahontas. So I think a racial and ethnic slur from the president was a far greater insult to the dignity and decorum of our chamber.
There you go. So now he's a racist. There was a racial ethnic slur for calling Chief Full of Bull Pocahontas. Now, here's what I find unbelievable, okay? And I'd love to get all of you to weigh in on this. 617-266-6868 is the number. So let me get this straight. You want to condemn Trump for mocking Elizabeth Warren, who, and you have to remember this is key, who deliberately lied, claiming that she was of Cherokee descent, of Indian descent, when she doesn't have a drop of Indian blood in her. Who perpetrated a hoax to get job after job after job in academia, including a $350,000 gig to teach one class at Harvard, claiming to be a Native American Indian, knowing full well that she has no Native American blood in her whatsoever, and that position, by the way, was reserved for an actual Native American Indian. So she perpetrates this grotesque fraud. You want to talk about cultural appropriation? This is the ultimate in cultural appropriation. Falsely assumes the identity of a Native American Indian, steals a job from a Native American Indian to line her pockets. And Trump is the bad guy for mocking her for doing it? No, maybe he should have called her Pocahontas. With all due respect to Pocahontas. Because Pocahontas was a hell of a lot better than Elizabeth Warren. More with your calls next. 9:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Okay, let me ask you point blank, Kuhner Country. Do you think it's a racial ethnic slur when Trump refers to Elizabeth Warren, as I like to call her, Chief Spreading Bull, as Pocahontas? This is now the argument not just Jamie Raskin, but many Democrats are making. The Boston Globe and many others are saying that Trump should not have called her Pocahontas during his joint address to Congress. This was demeaning, degrading, insulting. It is a racial ethnic slur. And if anyone should be censured, it's President Trump, Donald J. Trump. Agree, disagree. Let me just say this super quick. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, so let me get this straight. This woman is the one who lies about being a Native American Indian to advance her career, to line her pockets, to be, wealthy and successful in academia, and then uses it to run for office, claiming to be a minority when she's not. And when you mock her for it, the only racist, by the way, is her. The only one that appropriated Native American Indian status is her. The only one that lied about being a Native American is her. And then when pressed, what's your evidence? Remember, infamously, what she said was, look at the high cheekbones. That's what my mother always told me. So, to me, if anyone deserves to be mocked and ridiculed, it's her. And yet Trump is the bad guy? Let me tell you what the larger issue is. She's worth north of $67 million. Elizabeth Warren, $67 million. How did she line her pockets? How does a woman making $200,000 a year is worth over $67 million? That's the question we should be asking. And how the hell did she manage to steal jobs from real Native American Indians, whether at Harvard or the University of Pennsylvania or other institutions, as she grifted her way, lied her way, conned her way up the ladder in academia? And I've got to ask this to every single liberal. You go on about cultural appropriation over and over and over again. What Elizabeth Warren did was stone cold cultural appropriation. A blue-eyed, blonde-haired, white-skinned woman claimed to be a Cherokee. And you support that? 617-266-6868. John in Revere. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Jeff, how you doing? First-time caller here, born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you. I recently moved to Florida with my family. My wife's uncle listens to the Kuhner Man every single morning, so now I'm a fan, and I'm happy to be on the phone with you. I wanted to, number one, I was calling about the utilities that you were talking about earlier, but I will touch base on what you just said about the cultural appropriation. These guys are masters of projection. All the trash that they do, they project onto us. And that's their tactic. They've been trying to call Trump a racist since day one. That's the only thing they have. And it's crazy that they believe it. But I wanted to call back because I heard you speaking earlier about how they're killing us on utilities. And yes. I'm a small business owner. I own 2 restaurants in Massachusetts. So I go back and forth between Florida and Massachusetts. And it's home. But it's just crazy up there. And I know that people's personal bills are getting gouged. I just wanted the people to hear what they're doing to small businesses with these delivery charges. My gas bill is upwards of $4,000 because the delivery charge is over $2,000. And you have these liberal, I'm telling you now, my usage is $1,700 and my delivery is $2,100. And these liberal dorks will parade around the city and think that small businesses are gouging them, right? We have to sell cheeseburgers for $20 because we can't make ends meet. I mean, this has been the worst 4 years in my business history. And I can't wait for Big Donnie to pull out the drill bit and drill baby drill, because this is what's killing everything. It's the utility costs. I mean, we are getting absolutely crushed. And the drilling can't come soon enough. So, I don't know what else to do with a small business, but I know that restaurants and small businesses all over the state are closing, and it's getting crazy. We need help because we're at a dead end. I mean, like I said, it's been the worst it's ever been for me, and we're just, rubbing pennies together to get by.
John, for the layperson out there, why are delivery costs? You said the gas itself is $1,700. The delivery is $2,100, almost $2,200, basically $4,000. Why are the delivery costs so high?
I think, I'm not an expert in it, but I look at it like this. Like, someone produces the energy, right? And it's not it's not National Grid. They're the ones that deliver it. They own the pipes to bring everything in. So, and it's somewhat of a monopoly. I mean, who else can we go to? There's no one else you can go to. And what they allow you to do is they allow you to negotiate delivery charges with other companies. Like, you can sign a contract and they'll lock it down. But in the state of Massachusetts for the last few years, it wasn't allowed. So now we're stuck paying these asinine fees. And I think it's a money grab because they know the drilling is coming. So they're thinking, let's grab what we can because everything's going to go back down. I'll tell you what, when President Trump was in office, it's not like I'm the truth is the truth. I mean, everything was much lower. It was literally, it was the best years we had business-wise. Utilities were reasonable, $1,000, $1,200 for gas. $4,000 for using the same amount of gas is ridiculous. And then you get backed up. And I'm going to tell you, I had my gas shut off 2 weeks ago because I couldn't afford to pay the bill. They do nothing for businesses. And this is all the product of what these idiots have put into place. It's all the movements that they're making and all the decisions that they make and all the money that they send elsewhere. And then they don't help us, the taxpayer. And now we're stuck. And what happens is, oh, well, sorry, you have to pay it. If you don't, we're going to shut you off and good luck. That's just what they do.
It's disgusting. John, I know you're talking from a small business perspective. I can't tell you how many emails and texts I've gotten throughout today's show. Elderly people in their 70s and 80s texting me saying, Jeff, I'm behind on my utilities. I'm behind on my gas bill. They're threatening to cut me off, to shut me off. I need electricity. I can't function in the dark. I need the heating, whatever. I need to have power. And, it's not 4,000, but they're saying, Jeff, I live in a very small apartment. I'm paying 600, 700, 800. The costs, they're doubling, tripling, quadrupling. John, final word. I've got to ask you, how do people survive? No, really. There's got to be a breaking point. Am I wrong?
How do people survive? I think that we're in an era where people are surviving on credit. I think that, if you look at the statistics, a lot of people are in a lot of debt right now, including myself. I went from having everything to almost having nothing in a matter of 2 years. How do you survive? You got to buckle down. And I think there are programs for residential, and I think they're a little bit more lenient. But I can tell you, my mom lives in Roslindale, man. Her bill was $600. That's crazy. She lives by herself. So, how do we survive? I think we wait for our great president to stand on business, as they say, and do what he says he's going to do, because I think ultimately unleashing American energy is the key to 90% of our problems.
Amen. John, please, I know it's your first time calling. Don't be a stranger. Call again. 617-26, great call. 617-266-6868. Mike, how much time left? Deb in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Deb, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. It's Deb in New Hampshire.
Hi, Deb.
What I want to tell you is, Hiawatha is too good a name for her. She's a traitor. She's beyond saving. She's one of the reasons I left Massachusetts. I had talents and skills as a registered nurse there. I rendered to the community for over 30 years, and I left because of her and Deval. They are just, they've ruined the state. I think you and your wife should get out of there and come up to New Hampshire.
Well, you know, Deb, if they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, they may get their wish. So we'll see. I mean, the kids love it here. My wife loves it here, but they're making it awfully hard for people to stay. They really are. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jason in the great state of South Carolina. Thanks for holding, Jason, and welcome.
Jeff, this is such an honor to be on here. I'm formerly from Massachusetts, born and raised in Winthrop. But I just want to say, everybody calm down. This is exciting news that they want to take Trump on this way with Pocahontas. Reason being, think about this, you go to do that, you have to do that in a Senate hearing. You're going to bring up everything that she's ever done, and they will call her out for the scab liar that she is. Imagine if I checked in on a box and I'm black. Obviously, if they could tell, I'm white. I go to an interview, and the guy says, "You're not black." Wait a minute. I checked the box because I identify as black, and I know that's a minority. But gee, that's how I'm feeling today. This same type of stupidity that these Democrats are pulling off here. We all got to relax. This is enjoyable. Let her take them to court. Let them pull out this stuff. Let her get exposed for what she is. That's all I have to say.
Well, Jason, before I let you go, buddy, and you're making an excellent point, you know, a lot of the texters and people who are emailing me are saying, Jeff, how could you deliver a racial slur to someone who isn't of that race? Like, she's white. She's not Native American Indian. So, by calling her Pocahontas, what's the slur? You know, I mean, that's how stupid these Democrats are. You know what I mean? So you're calling a white woman who's whiter than I am, okay? Whiter than you are, whiter than my Ashton, whose ancestors go all the way back to Germany and Norway. Okay, she's whiter than he is. And it's a slur to call her Pocahontas? I mean, Jason, honestly, have these people collectively lost their minds? Like, they think they're going to win on this issue?
And this is the whole thing, Jeff. Listen, let's not get upset about this. Let's rejoice, because when they bring this before Congress, they want to have a hearing. They want to have a big impeachment. Yeah, right. Okay, let's do that. Let's have her testify how she came to become called Pocahontas.
Jason, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. See, and that she won't do, because that'll destroy her. I mean, the fraud, the grifter that she is, will be thoroughly unmasked. Vince in Deutschland, in Germany. Thanks for holding, Vince, and welcome.
Jeff, the correct name is Pocahontas, and that's the one that I think it should be, Pocahontas. But, you know, I have to tell you something, Jeff. Last week, I reposted something I saw on X onto my Facebook page, and it got fact-checked as being mostly untrue, and that was Elizabeth Warren's salary is $285,000 a year, but her net worth is $67 million. And I brought this up to my wife, the accountant, and I'm like, you tell me how she accumulated $67 million. And she's like, there's no way. She's like, even if that was tax-free and she was the shrewdest investor, she'd be like 25 million tops, you know? And that's the thing. They're thieving from the Treasury, Jeff. They're getting kickbacks from all this foreign aid from USAID. And basically the gist of the video that I reposted on Facebook that got fact-checked as fake was that she wants you to stop from finding out where the money goes. You know, that's what they want. And I tell you, Jeff, this is great because they've really painted themselves into the corner. Because how many times have they tried Trump is a racist over the course of the last, 9 years, and it hasn't stuck. I mean, it stuck for a little bit after Charlottesville, but now with X wide open, it's just dying on the vine. They have nowhere else to go. What are we on, day 52 of their struggle session? And that's what you're watching, the Democrats' struggle session in real time.
I think you nailed it, Vince. It's the same playbook over and over. It's racism, dictator, white supremacist, the end of our country, the end of democracy. They're running on fumes. They're done. You can see that. And now comes the reckoning. Because you're right. They've been lining their pockets, thieving, pillaging, plundering, stealing from us. And now Elon and Trump are saying those days are over. And that's why they're in a panic. Vince, God bless you. Thank you for that call. Let me see if I can squeeze one more in. Kevin in New Hampshire. Kevin, I've got 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Hey, top of the morning to you, Jeff. My name's Kevin. I called once before regarding something off topic. I fled Massachusetts as well. That's the short of the long. In New Hampshire for 17 years, and I've been battling a library material issue. I don't know if you remember a year or so I called, and you wished me well and to check back in. Well, I'm checking back in, and I would like the good folks here in Salem, fellow citizens that signed a petition for a warrant article in Salem. I just want to wish them, I want to thank them rather for doing so. And I'm basically checking in. I think you might have someone there from Salem, New Hampshire as well, working with you. I just want to get the word out that people need to vote yes on question 8 tomorrow in Salem. It's a local town election. People don't get motivated.
Well, look, Kevin, I wish you all the best, my friend. And yeah, I do have friends that work at iHeart who lived in Mass, moved to Salem, New Hampshire. They love it. I mean, they rave about it. They rave about Salem and they rave about New Hampshire. So there you go. All right, on that happy note, bye-bye.